Welcome to second lecture of analog circuit. In this lecture, I am going to discuss the characteristics of PN junction diodes. The VI characteristics of the PN junction diode will be discussed both in the forward bias and reverse biased. Along with that, the load line and the concept of operating points. Other than the PN junction diode that is going to be discussed in this particular lecture, there are several types of diodes which are used in different applications. For example, the gun diode and tunnel diode are used in microwave applications, whereas the laser diode, photodiode, LED, they are used in optical applications. The varactor diode, on the other hand, the name varactor comes from its application or its capability that it can vary its capacitor. So variable capacitor diode, that is why varactor diode, it is used in a few oscillator circuits. The pin diode is used for a photodetector, and the rest three, the step recovery diode, Zener diode, Schottky diode, they fall in the category of the general purpose diode, or they fall in the category of rectifier diode. However, the Zener diode is not being used as a rectifier because the Zener diode is used in reverse bias, whereas the rectifiers are used in both bias. So while the other diodes are used as a rectifier, the Zener diode is used as a voltage regulator. So the Zener diode, by the application, the Zener diode is a bit different from the rectifier diodes. In this particular lecture, I am going to discuss those PN junction diodes which are being used as a rectifier. The rectifier diodes are those having two terminals and which allows the current to flow in one direction, that is called forward bias, and it opposes that current to flow in the opposite direction, that is known as the reverse bias. As simply as that, this is the basic definition of a rectifier diode. Next is the VI characteristics of a PN junction diode. This expression is the well-known expression for current equation of PN junction diode, where this IS represents the reverse saturation current, VD represents the diode voltage, VT represents the thermal voltage, which is around 26 millivolt at room temperature or equivalently at 300 Kelvin. Eta, this factor is called the ideality factor, and its value generally lies between 1 and 2. I will explain later the significance of this factor in the expression of the current. In this lecture, including all my subsequent lectures, I am going to use this LTSpice software to represent the simulated results for the devices or the circuits. This LTSpice software is freely available from the website of Analog Devices. They have built for the students, so I do recommend you to go to the Analog Device website. Basically, you do not need to go over there, just search over the Google with LTSpice and they will directly put you on that website. So download it, install it, and do practice with some basic circuits, at least with those basic circuits what I will demonstrate in my lecture. For example, here I am going to use this diode model 1N4148. This diode model means the SPICE equivalent model of this diode 1N4148 utilizes these values. So the built-in potential is 584.9 millivolt. The reverse saturation current is 2.5 nanoampere and the ideality factor is 1.752. So these are the inputs to this LTSpice software for this diode model 1N4148. This is the forward bias characteristics of 1N4148 diode which utilizes these circuits. So how I have drawn these forward bias characteristics, that is also you need to know. Here I put a variable DC voltage which varies from say 0 to 5 volt, and I put a diode in series with this voltage and a resistance in series with all of them. Now I have connected a voltmeter across the diode and an ammeter in series with the diode. Now I have started to increase this voltage starting from 0 to 5 volt, and at each and every increment I have recorded the value from the voltmeter and the values from the ammeter. And after performing the entire experiment, that means that after when the recording is done from the voltmeter and the ammeter, I have plotted them on a linear plot, and that plot will show you this kind of plot, and that is obviously is the VI characteristics of the diode 1N4148. Besides the simulation result, I have also calculated the current from the basic equation of the diode. So once I have calculated by considering this ideality factor is equals to 1, and then the exact ideality factor which is available in the SPICE model what I am using over here. So you can check the diode current what is coming by utilizing ideality factor is equals to 1 is very higher than that which is coming in simulated results. But when I am utilizing at the ideality factor 1.752, so at this particular voltage the ID or the diode current is coming 1 milliampere, which is equal or which is in close agreement with the simulated results. So in general, the cut-in voltage or the threshold voltage or the built-in potential is considered for that current when the current attains the 1 milliampere. So here this point represents the cut-in voltage or the built-in potential, which is 584.9 millivolt. Next is the reverse bias characteristics of a PN junction diode. But here I did not use the silicon diode, that means the 4148 diode what I have used in my previous lecture or in my previous slide. Here I have used the Zener diode to demonstrate the reverse bias characteristics. The reason behind this are two. First one is that for a silicon diode, that means the 4148, that is a silicon diode. For a silicon diode, the breakdown voltage, which in case of the reverse bias, the breakdown voltage has a very high value. For a 4148, that is near about 280 to 300 volt. But for a Zener diode, the breakdown voltage is comparatively much smaller. You can see the breakdown voltage is around 6.2 volt for the Zener diode what I have used over here. Second thing is that as I am using the simulation to demonstrate the characteristics in reverse bias, so by simulating a reverse bias silicon diode, it is generally not possible to show you this curve, this reverse bias curve or this reverse bias characteristics. It is not possible. But when you are using Zener diode, it is possible to plot such kind of reverse bias characteristics. This is because the Zener diode is generally operated in reverse bias, while the silicon diode generally operated in both the biases, but we generally ensure for a silicon diode that no current should be conducted in reverse bias. But in the case of Zener diode, we do want that a huge current will flow when the Zener diode will be in breakdown mode or will be at the breakdown voltage, and we generally do operate a Zener diode at the breakdown voltage. The Zener diode what I have used to demonstrate the reverse bias characteristics over here, that diode has a SPICE model and that has a breakdown voltage in the SPICE model is around 6.2 volt, and in this case also we generally consider the breakdown voltage is that voltage when the reverse bias current attains minus 1 milliampere, and the simulation result is also showing the exact value of the SPICE model. The static resistance of a forward bias PN junction diode. What a static resistance means? A static resistance means the type of resistance what a DC current experiences due to the presence of a DC voltage source over here. The static resistance can be obtained from the forward bias VI characteristics as I have shown over here. For example, in this particular case, I am considering that for a given value of this DC voltage, the circuit is drawing a current around 14 milliampere. Now, if I draw a straight line through the 14 milliampere value, so that will cut or intersect the VI characteristics at certain point. Now, if I draw another straight line vertically through that point, so that straight line will touch the x-axis at certain point, and since this x-axis represents the voltage across the diode. So the value at this point is nothing but the voltage across the diode, or the voltage is being consumed by the diode when the circuit current is 14 milliampere. So at this condition, if I take the ratio of this voltage to this current, that means basically what I am doing, I am taking the slope at this point. The slope at this point is nothing but the ratio of the current to voltage, because this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. The slope is defined by the ratio to the y-axis to the x-axis. Since at the y-axis, that means at the current axis, the current what I have found for my circuit is 14 milliampere, and the corresponding voltage across the diode is 711.9 millivolt. So the slope will be just reverse of this one. So 14 divided by 711.9 millivolt. That slope is nothing but a ratio of current to voltage, or equivalently equal to inverse of some resistance. That resistance is nothing but the static resistance, because we are calculating the resistance at some specific point. So that is the static resistance, and in this particular case the static resistance is coming 50.6 ohm. The dynamic resistance of forward biased PN junction diode. In comparison with the static resistance, the dynamic resistance is the one which is being experienced by an AC current instead of the DC current, due to the presence of an AC voltage source as an input here. As we have seen, the static resistance can be calculated at a particular point on the VI curve by taking the ratio of the current to the voltage at that particular point. The dynamic resistance can also be found from the VI characteristics by taking the slope around a particular point. Since it is a slope of the VI characteristics, so that can also be found mathematically using this equation, because this is the current equation based on which the diode VI characteristics is can be plotted. So therefore, if I can take the slope of this equation, then also the resulting equation will provide us the expression for the dynamic resistance. Before going to find out the slope of this equation, we have to do some approximation, and the approximation is this one. Yes, obviously this is a very important approximation. We have to consider that this diode voltage should be much greater than this ideality factor times the thermal voltage, because then only this e to the power factor will be very greater than 1, and we can approximate this one with this. Next, if I differentiate this ID value with respect to this diode voltage, so that will extract only 1 by eta times Vt out from this exponential, and finally this 1 by Rd, which is the ratio of this Id to Vd, or the differential Id to differential Vd, will take the form of Id divided by eta times the Vt. Now in our example, where I have used this 1N4 diode, for this case let's check what is the dynamic resistance. So at 300 Kelvin the thermal voltage is around 26 millivolt, and the ideality factor for this diode is coming directly from the SPICE model, which is 1.752, and the current at which I am going to calculate this dynamic resistance is exactly that one what I have used to calculate the static resistance in my last slide. And check, the dynamic resistance is only 3.3 ohm, which is very less than the static resistance what I have calculated earlier. That means when you are applying a DC signal, the DC voltage, the DC current will experience a larger dynamic resistance of a diode in comparison to an AC signal or AC current, which is going to experience comparatively much smaller dynamic resistance. Now let's check whether the calculated value of the dynamic resistance is following the simulated value of the dynamic resistance or not. Now this is the VI characteristics already I have explained, and that has been obtained by simulating this 1N4148 diode using LT-Spice. Here, since the static resistance I have calculated at 14 milliampere, here I am considering the range of the current around this 14 milliampere. So I have, although the range I have taken arbitrarily, it is 14.6 and 13.6. So around this 14.6 and 13.6, the voltage are across the diode is corresponding to 713.9 volt and 9 millivolt and 710.3 millivolt. So when I will take this ratio of that, their differences. So the dynamic resistance which is coming from the VI characteristics of the simulated result is equals to 3.6 ohm. So that is closely in agreement with our previous result, that was 3.3 ohm. Load line and operating point. Up to now, I have considered the VI characteristics of this diode. I did not say anything about the circuit, the entire circuit, when it is connected with the diode, especially when a load is connected with the diode and a source is connected with the diode. So from here I am going to discuss all those things when a load and source is connected with the diode. The load R1 is connected with the diode in series, as well as the source Vs is also connected in series with the diode. So if I apply KVL, the KVL will result this equation. But instead of writing Vs, I have considered Vi over here, because Vi is the total voltage across the entire circuit. It doesn't matter how many number of voltage sources you will connect in series at this branch, Vi will be summation of all of them. So it will be better to analyze this circuit with respect to Vi rather than the individual voltage sources at these branches. So that is why I have considered Vi in this KVL equation. So the KVL will result this one. If I do a little rearrangement, that means I have divided the entire equation by Vi, so the equation takes this kind of form. Now can you identify what type of form it is? Now I think yes. So if you compare this equation, this known equation, with this one, by considering this Vd is equals to X, Id is equals to Y, that means Vd is the X axis, Vd is the diode voltage and Id is the diode current or the circuit current. So this equation represents nothing but a straight line, and the straight line intersects the voltage axis at Vi, which is the source voltage, and it intersects the current axis at Vi by R1. That means the source voltage divided by the load resistance. In our case, as Vi is equals to Vs is equals to 5 volt and R1 equals to 1 kilo ohm, obviously this intersection point at the voltage axis is going to be 5 volt, and the intersection point with the current axis is going to be 5 milliampere. So 5 volt divided by R1, which is 1 kilo ohm, that will be 1 milliampere. Let's see. Look, this is the initial Vi characteristics of the diode, and this one is the newly obtained straight line, which is called load line. This is called load line since the existence of this line is due to the load, which is R1 in this particular case. Say for example, if R1 is equals to infinite, which represents open circuit, infinite impedance means open circuit. So if the circuit is open, no current will flow. Look how this picture also is showing you that no current will flow. When R1 is infinite, so Vi by infinity will be 0, and this intersection point will come down over here, representing a 0 current through the circuit, because the amount of current which is flowing through the circuit is represented by this intersection point, which is known as the Q point or quiescent point. So The current in the circuit is represented by the current at this quiescent point, and the voltage, if you draw a line on the voltage axis, so this voltage is basically the voltage is appearing across the diode. So if this intersection point appears at 0, which will represent no current or zero current will flow through the circuit, and that is obvious because with infinite resistance, that means with open circuit, there is no current. Similarly, if this R1 is 0, zero resistance or zero load means it is a short circuit, because the resistance of a short circuit we do consider is 0. So if it is 0, so Vi by 0 is infinity. That means this intersection point will be at infinite, somewhat very large value of the current. So that means then this load line will be parallel to the original Vi characteristics of the diode. That signifies that as soon as you will put the diode in forward bias, infinite current can flow. Infinite current can flow because, and this is also possible because the diode is consuming very small amount of current across it, and the rest amount of very small amount of voltage across it, and the rest amount of voltage is appearing across the load if the load is not 0. Again, I have represented this diagram in order to compare my argument with the simulated results of the diode. This is the Vi characteristics of the 4148 diode, and this is the straight line representing the load line which intersects at 5 volt with the voltage axis and 5 milliampere with the current axis. The Q point is at 0.654, approximately it is 0.654 volt or 653.9 millivolt, whereas the current is 4.4 milliampere. So that means at this particular value, or when you are applying the input voltage of the circuit by 5 volt, the circuit will draw a current of 4.4 milliampere, while the diode is consuming only 0.654 volt across it, and the rest amount of voltage is appearing across the load, which is 4.35 over here. Next, I am considering what will happen if this input voltage will vary or the DC voltage will vary. Say for example, here Vi is equals to Vs. So if this DC voltage will vary, Vi also will vary. Now variation of Vi means what? Variation of Vi means the intersection points will vary both at the voltage axis and the current axis, because the intersection point at the voltage axis is the Vi itself, and the intersection point with the current axis is Vi by R1. So if Vs varies or the voltages at these branches varies, so this Vi also will vary, and that variation will be reflected by varying the load line. I have taken 3 examples. So first I have considered 4 volt, 5 volt and 6 volt. So that means 1 volt less than the 5 volt what I have used in my previous slide, and 1 volt greater than the 5 volt. So the intersection point is obviously Vi for at the voltage axis, and the intersection point with the current axis will be 4 milliampere corresponding to the 4 volt, 5 milliampere corresponding to 5 volt, and the 6 milliampere corresponding to the 6 volt, because the load resistance is 1 kilo ohm. You can visualize the situation using this diagram. Now here look, I have drawn 3 load lines, one for each of the voltages. So for 4 volt I have denoted that is by Vs minus, for 5 volt that is Vs, and for 6 volt I have considered that is Vs plus. So similarly, so these are the voltages which are the intersection point at the voltage axis. The corresponding intersection point with the current axis are 4 milliampere, 5 milliampere and 6 milliampere. So for each set of these voltage and current values, so there will be a different set load line. Now if we vary this input voltage, that means if we suppose vary the DC input voltage manually starting from 4 volt to 6 volt and 6 volt to 4 volt and again 4 volt to 6 volt in such a way the current values also will vary. That means from 4 milliampere to 6 milliampere, 6 milliampere to 4 milliampere. So in this way both the voltage and the current will vary back and forth, and that will cause the load lines to vary accordingly. So if we will vary the voltages, the supply voltages or the input voltages along this, so 4 volt to 6 volt, 6 volt to 4 volt, the current will vary along this. So the intersection point basically our points are varying, resulting in the variation in the load line along this direction. So load line is varying in a greater extent by varying both the voltage and current, but voltage across the diode is almost negligible. The variation of the voltage across the diode is negligible, and you can see at the figure in the inset for how much smaller the variation is. So this much of the variation takes place across the diodes. So that is why although the variation in the external circuit is larger, the variation across the diode or the consumption of the voltage across the diode is smaller. As a result, the voltage drop across the load, which is the applied voltage minus the voltage across the diode, is also not varying in a greater extent. That only varies due to the applied voltage. Since applied voltage is being reducing by order of 2 volt from the 6 volt, so that is why the voltage across the load will vary accordingly, but the consumption of the diode is not varying so significantly. Let's consider the input as an AC instead of the DC, but the analysis what I have done for the DC is going to help to understand the analysis when the input signal is being as an AC signal. So this is the AC signal which is going to be applied as an input to this circuit. Now that AC signal is varying around the 0 voltage, and it has a peak voltage as 5 volt. So since we have seen the variation at this branch causes the variation across the entire voltage, that means VI. But in my last slide I have used some 3 discrete values of the variation, that is 4 volt, 5 volt and 6 volt. But here, since the signal is AC, which is analog in nature, the variation from 0 to 5, the infinite number of variations are there. That I just want to mean that since analog signal contains infinite number of points in amplitude, so that is why from 0 to 5 volt there exists infinite number voltage level. So that infinite number of voltage level is going to define infinite number of intersection at the voltage axis and the corresponding infinite number of current level at the current axis. That means there is going to have an infinite number of load line which is can be visualized as a cloud of the load line around a particular range. The range is 5 volt to minus 5 volt, because this is the extreme voltage and positive on the positive side, and this is the extreme voltage on the negative side. So at this voltage, so there will be a load line, that is load line is defined by the intersection point on the voltage axis, that is Vp itself, that is the peak value on the positive side, and the intersection point with the current axis is Vp by R1 on the positive side. On the negative side, since the negative peak is at minus Vp, the load line will intersect with the voltage axis at minus Vp and with the current axis at minus Vp by R1. As I told that for every instance of time Vs gets updated, so does the Vi. As just I told that the two extreme load line will be defined by these two levels. This is the minus Vp, which is the intersection with the voltage axis as on the negative side, and this is minus Vp by R1, which is the intersection with the current axis on the negative side, and this is the intersection with the voltage level on the positive side, and this is the intersection on the current axis at the positive side. So the all load lines will cover the region between these two points. So let's see how it is covering. Look, so this is the minus Vp and this is the minus Vp by R1. So it is minus 5 volt and it is minus 5 milliampere, and this is plus 5 volt and plus 5 milliampere. So in between these two extreme load lines there exist all the load lines, and all those load lines are covering this range in a continuous manner, because the sinusoidal voltage what I have applied, that is also continuous in nature. So we cannot identify two amplitude level separately, or we cannot separate it out. So that also will cause to establish load lines which cannot be separated out from each other. So that is why I told a cloud of load line do exist between two extreme load lines. It can be understood or can be visualized in a better way using this small animation. This represents, this Vs represents the input sinusoidal voltage, where this blue dot that represents the instantaneous value of the amplitude. This represents the instantaneous value of this amplitude, which is being updated at each and every time. Now we'll see how the load line and the Q point is also varying accordingly. So with respect to the input voltage, the load line is also varying between these extreme points of the input voltages, and the Q point, which is defined by the intersection between the load line and the VI characteristics, that is also varying continuously or instantaneously with respect to this instantaneous voltage level. Now for the forward half, this positive half cycle of the input voltage, the diode will be in forward bias, and the forward bias diode uh, gets a smaller amount of voltage drop across it. So this is the small amount of voltage which is being dropped across the diode in forward bias. But in reverse bias, for the negative half cycle of the input voltage, the reverse bias, entire voltage gets dropped across the diode, because later in my lectures I will explain that a negative or a reverse bias diode can be treated as an open circuit condition. That means a negative or reverse bias diode can be replaced by an open circuit. This is the input voltage. This is a simulated result uh, for the animation what I just have presented in my last slide. So the input voltage, input sinusoidal voltage I have applied, having the peak voltage is plus 5 volt and negative peak voltage is minus 5 volt, and it is oscillating around the 0 voltage. So 0 is the reference level. So this is the input voltage and this is the output voltage. Black line represents the output voltage and this green line represents the voltage across the diode. Now look, so this is the small amount of voltage that we have to bother. We can't avoid this small amount of voltage, because when the diode is in forward bias, as I have explained, so a small amount of voltage gets dropped across the diodes, and this is the amount of voltage. But for the negative half cycle of the input signal, the diode is in reverse bias, and a reverse bias diode turn off the source from the load. So that is why the output is coming close to 0, but the since the diode is actually making the circuit open or keeping the circuit open, so the entire voltage, input voltage, then at the negative half cycle is appearing across the diode. So this is the voltage across the diode, and this one is the black line representing the voltage across the load impedance. Let's consider a different situation like here. Here I have connected a DC voltage source along with an AC signal. The signal what I have considered in previous case, but in this particular case I have considered the amplitude of the AC signal is only 0.5 volt, whereas the DC signal has a value of 3 volt. In this case, since I have analyzed all my circuit with respect to the VI, so right now this VI will be nothing but V1 plus Vs. So the significance of this Vi plus Vs is that initially in my last slide where I have used the AC signal source alone, so there the AC signal was varying around the 0 reference level or 0 voltage level, but here it is going to vary around this DC voltage level, taking this as the reference. So when this Vs will attain its positive peak, which is 0.5, so that will be V1 plus 0.5 or equivalently 3.5, and when it will attain its negative peak, that means minus 0.5, so that will be 3 minus 0.5, which or equivalently 2.5. Let's see. The situation can be visualized in a better way by or using this animation. That is why I have presented it over here. So look, this is 3.0 volt, this is 3.5 volt, and it is 2.5 volt. Now this input is varying around 3 volt, since it is when it is attaining its positive peak, it is going to be 3.5 volt. So for 3.5 volt, it is going to define an extreme load line, and for 2.5 volt, it also will define another load line at the opposite extreme. And at 3 volt, which is for the input voltage, which when they are attaining their zeros here and here and here, when the input AC signal is attaining their zeros, the DC signal will be on the circuit. So that voltage is 3 volts. So for 3 volts, so there will be this load line, and that is fixed load line, and all other load line will vary around this. Let's see this animation. It is varying, corresponding load line is varying, and the corresponding current also will vary according to that. This is the variation of the current, the circuit current. This is the variation of the circuit current, and this is the voltage drop across the diode. It's because the circuit current is taking the references from these values, because this is the intersection of the Q points which are varying around this. So the current is also varying around this. This is the simulation result of the circuit what I have discussed, that means including both AC and DC. So this is the Vi, which is varying from 3.5 to 2.5. This is the output voltage, and this is the Vi minus V naught, that means it is the voltage across the diode. So you can see, or you can check from here, so small voltage drop is appearing across the diode. It's only 634 millivolt to 614 millivolt. So this much, this smaller voltage is consuming by the diode, whereas the rest of the voltage is being transferred to the output voltage. So this is the lecture summary for today. We have seen that we cannot use a diode alone with a voltage source, because we must have to connect a resistance, because if we do not, then whenever the voltage source will put the diode in forward bias, since the diode current increases exponentially and there exists no any other element to limit the current, so infinite current can flow, and which has been equivalently be explained by using the load line, because for zero resistance, which is being represented by a short circuit, that means when there is no resistance, or rather resistance is shorted, which signifies that the intersection point or the with the current axis with the load line will be situated at the infinity. So the current also will be infinite if there exists no load resistance. But if there exists a resistance which is infinite resistance, means if it is open circuit, then also we will see that there will be no current, because the load line will be parallel with the x-axis and it will be 0. So intersection point with the load axis with the Vi characteristics will be 0. So that will cause the zero current to flow through the circuit. Second thing is that if we use an AC signal instead of a DC signal, we have seen that the load line will also vary according to the AC signal, and it varies between two extreme values of the AC signal. And if we use the AC signal along with a DC signal, so we can choose where to vary the AC signal. That means we can bias, prior to the variation of the AC signal, we can bias the circuit and we can shift the AC signal to vary around a particular section of the Vi characteristics, as I have explained using my animation. And as a result, we can avoid the AC signal to make the diode in or to put the diode in reverse bias. However, if the diode will be in reverse bias due to the application of an AC signal alone without any DC voltage associating with it, then the entire voltage will be dropped across the diode for the negative half cycle, because the negative half cycle of the AC signal will put the diode in reverse bias, and a reverse bias diode is generally being considered as an open circuit. We will see in my next lecture in the case of diode model. So when the diode is in reverse bias, a limited current will flow, so the entire voltage gets dropped across the diode. And that's all for today.